it's one of the key things that you have to keep going in your marriage. You know, we are a prime example of how it started out with a lot of heat. We were just wildly attracted to each other, and you know, I thought she was just the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen, and you know, we really had a lot of romance in the dating. Here, take this one. Thanks. And then you get married, and kids come along, and jobs, and you're paying bills. It's sort of, I think this is why so many people have affairs. Just the adrenaline rush of romance without life intruding on it. Well, that's the easy part, right? And that's why, you know, I've counseled a lot of couples that have somebody's fallen into sin, and you ask them, you know, how this happened, and oh, you know, it's just magic when I'm with this person, and the sex is great and all that. I mean, you know, you're not paying a mortgage with them. You're not raising kids with them. You're not dealing with in-laws with them. You know, you're taking only the fun part of the relationship and not doing the hard stuff, and that's just not a real thing. And the key, of course, is to flip that and to say, okay, how can I have romance with the person I'm paying a mortgage with and raising kids with and going through life with? And again, what we said, if it doesn't come natural, it has to be intentional.
Yeah, let me real quick say, there was a couple that were close to us, and she indulged in a relationship outside of her marriage and sexual relationship, and anyway, it exploded. The husband comes to us, they come to us as a couple and start talking, and I meet with her every Wednesday night after church for a year, right? It was a year. She'd come to my house, and I would just talk to her. And the thing that was so amazing to me was she had fostered, what showed up was she had fostered romance with the man she was having an affair with, and had stopped fostering romance with her husband, and then just put it into a different category. And we began to pray that the Lord would just do a work in her, and she would make the cold, hard, rational decision to just do the right thing and begin to love her husband and him love her. And it's really precious to me. This has been how many years ago now?
More than 10.
More than 10 years ago. And now they are one of the leading couples that we have people go talk to, because God restored. They are preciously in love and faithfully persevering and enduring, and their kids and everything. And it really is so important, this romance thing. You know, the Lord romanced you and romanced you to Him, and He keeps doing such a thing. And this is why this topic, it's a fun topic, but don't mistake it just because it's fun for the importance of it.
Yeah, and you know, there's a whole book of the Bible dedicated to this. You know, in the Song of Solomon, there's not one word about having babies.
Yeah, it's all about, you don't see anything about procreation.
Yeah.
But you see all about recreation. And I mean, a whole book.
I mean, yeah, there's stuff in there I wouldn't preach on a Sunday morning, you know, with children in the attendance, because it's very personal. And, you know, man, a passage like, a garden enclosed is my sister, my spouse. And then she responds, oh, my beloved has gone down into his garden to gather lilies. I know what that's talking about. We've been married 44 years. I've plucked a few lilies in my time. I like a big bouquet all the time. But God put that in there. That's inspired by the Holy Spirit. And man, you know, the world is just messing us up. Listen to me. I'm just going to say this plain. Pornography is so just insidious. It's just destructive. And I mean, I'm counseling couples in their 20s where the wife tells me he can't have an orgasm without choking her. Now that's messed up. And where does that come from? We're got a generation here that is marked by pornography. I mean, I have seminary students tell me they were addicted to pornography at 8 years old. Parents who give their kids unrestricted access to the internet, that's just an invitation. I preached this at Buck Run one Sunday morning. I said, parents, this zone of privacy thing, I don't know where you're getting at. That's not a real thing. Your kid, your teenager does not get a zone of privacy on the internet. And I said, you need to know what they're looking at. You need to know who they're texting with. That afternoon, a man in my church went home, looked at his 16-year-old son's phone and found out he had been being abused by a 70-year-old man for 2 years. And the guy used pornography as the hook. Now, that guy went to prison, but, you know, man, that kid's life is affected. At the very least,
Satan seeks to.
Yeah, that's right. Satan is he's the thief who comes to kill and destroy. And we've just got to see that for what it is. Tanya began, when she began teaching at Southern Seminary and the Seminary Wives Institute. When we first went there, they started that, I think, in 1998. We went in 97. They started in 98. And Tanya began teaching the marriage and family class to seminary wives. And toward the end of the semester, she lets them all submit questions, and she answers them the next week. And about 40% of the questions were some variation of what I call the frisky seminary student question. It's like, my husband just wants to have sex all the time. How can I either tone him down or match his level of desire? There was some variation of that. Fast forward 15 years. The question now, over half of the questions submitted are, my husband never wants to have sex. How can I get him interested? Now you tell me what changed in those 15 years. And we all know what it was. Pornography went free on the internet. You know, when I was a kid, it was finding my next door neighbor's Playboys in his garage. And it was limited, just pictures. They were all females. There were no male genitalia involved here. No live pictures of anything. You had to be an adult. You had to go somewhere in your city where it was. I remember on Main Street, right by Kentucky Theater, it used to be a XXX theater when I was a kid. I mean, and every time we drive down Main Street here in Lexington, see that, I know there's the place guys go to get pornography. Well, now it's with you wherever you are. It's just right on your phone. It's on your iPad. Every kid that has internet access has access to pornography. And why would a lost 17-year-old kid not look at it? I mean, apart from Christ and understanding God's design, there's no reason to not look. So it's not like I blame them. It's just that you and I know better. And this is why we have to introduce them to the gospel. But it's also a massive problem in marriages. And, you know, let me recommend to you that you go on YouTube and you find, there's a video there, it's a TED Talk called The Great Porn Experiment by Gary Wilson. And it's not a Christian video. He's just a sociologist talking about what happens to the male brain on pornography. And it's really enlightening and fascinating and why it's so addictive. And again, pornography today, it has a dopamine effect of click, 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 as long as somebody wants to sit at a computer and look at it. And the ironic thing is that it will make a man impotent. I mean, Satan must just laugh at us. That in the name of pursuing sex, we make ourselves incapable of it. And in that video, he tells how, the younger you are, the greater your neuroplasticity of your brain. And it does greater damage to your brain. A guy in his 20s who gets addicted to pornography becomes impotent. If he stops cold turkey, on average, it takes him about 5 months to be able to function sexually again. Whereas a man in his 50s, it takes him 2 months. Now, by the way, that's 2 months I don't want to miss. So That's just a great warning. We need to stay away from it. But I'm telling you, this is insidious. It is destructive. It is a great tool of Satan. You need to be aware of it. And it is counterfeit, and it makes us change our idea of what great sex is. I want you to think back to what Adam and Eve had in the garden before sin ever entered the world. They're naked. They're not ashamed. They have total freedom with each other to enjoy one another, to enjoy God's good gift of sexuality. There's no choking. There's no abusive talk. There's no smacking somebody around. There's no bondage. It's just unreserved enjoyment of one another. That's God's design. And we as married people have to pursue a healthy view of sex and romance. Now, they're not the same thing. And especially, men, you need to know that your wife needs romance that doesn't necessarily end up with an orgasm. She needs to know that you pursue her just for her, not for your satisfaction. And that's an important part of romance. But we want to help you just sort of think through, what does this look like in a healthy marriage? Well, several elements of good romance. The first one is the element of the unexpected. Tanya and I, like Nick and Kristen were saying, we had a date night every week. When our boys were young, we were blessed to live here in Lexington, and Tanya's mom and dad took our boys every Friday night. And we had a date, and that was wonderful. Man, when I preached her mom's funeral, I just talked about how much she invested in our marriage by taking our kids every Friday night. We had a date night. And that was wonderful. The routine date night was fantastic. But it's even better when you do something unexpected for each other. That, here's something she wasn't looking for. Surprises say, I'm thinking about you. You're on my mind. I put effort into this. Romantic surprises take out the monotony of the day. Don't just be romantic on your anniversary or somebody's birthday. Look for ways to really be romantic in unexpected ways. When, there's no reason. Pick a day that you celebrate for whatever reason you want to celebrate it. And say, this is our day. That unexpected element really adds a lot to romance.
Okay, can I tell them about May Day?
It's your day.
Okay.
Far be it from me to tell you what to say.
All right, so I created first day of May. Don't y'all call us, don't you text us, don't do anything, and we're gonna act like this didn't happen. I didn't say it afterwards, but I thought, it's nothing going on, no anniversary, no anything. But I created something called Hooray, Hooray, it's the first day of May, outdoor sex begins today. All right, what that means is it's a special holiday that the two of us, and it doesn't have to be outdoor, and we,
But it happens.
But
we're not exhibitionists. We're not. It's not like public places.
No, it's like my sister has a 100-acre farm.
Yeah.
And there's nobody within sight. No
There are
one.
places in the woods.
Yeah. But it's the way you keep sticking the microphone over here for. But it's something that just it showed to him, man, you are special to me. And this was a very unexpected thing. And I just wrote a poem, basically, and gave it to him. And he opened it up, and we had a wonderful day. And now May 1st is turned. Now it's not unexpected.
Yeah, and she told this in her class at Southern, and it got out. And so now I get all kinds of texts on, evangelical leaders across the United States text me on May 1st, say, hey, it's your day today. So,
Yeah, it's no longer unexpected, but you get the point is you think of something that will basically surprise them that they're not anticipating. Your spouse says that, this week he came in with
flowers from Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
And it was.
She
just
didn't
like-
expect that,
Yeah,
you know?
just like, oh, what a nice, unexpected, romantic gesture.
You remember in the book of Genesis when Isaac, like his dad, cowardly lies about who his wife is to, I think, Abimelech, and he said, "Oh, it's my sister." But then Abimelech sees him. I remember the King James word, sporting with Rebecca. He goes, "That ain't his sister." Doggone right. Look, as you age, stuff changes. It's not the same in our 60s as it was in our 20s, but she's not my sister. Right? Menopause happens, mastectomies happen, hysterectomies happen, prostate cancer happens, but she's not my sister. He's not your brother. That's your husband or your wife. And you need to find a way to always make sure that this relationship is unlike any other relationship in my life, that there's a romantic element to it. And so you're going to look for the unexpected. Secondly, just the element of dating. So by that, I really mean pursuit. Before we were married, we had limited time together. At night I got to go home and I got to say goodbye. So we got so many hours, and we wanted to fill those with things that we could do together that were fun and creative with what time we had. Well, then you get married and you go, okay, I don't have to think about that anymore. Well, what we're saying is, no, think about it. What if that date night is just us watching some TV program or something? That's not much of a date. My dating should be better as a married man than it was as a single man. And she needs to feel pursued. If I put effort into dating her before we were married, how much more should I put into it afterward? And man, we've just done some great things. One time, I remember, she had just had a baby. And we were in that 6-week period, where the doctor said, wait till 6 weeks. Get this, I just want you to know the incredible thing she did. She put together a picnic basket and she said, she came and got me at the church and took me out for lunch, got her mother to sit with the baby. And we went way out Winchester Road somewhere to some open field. She spreads this picnic blanket, pulls out fried chicken and all this stuff. And she said, I just want you to know, I can't wait till the 6 weeks is up. She said, I look forward to having you again. Man, what man doesn't want to feel that? Because I can't wait till the 6 weeks is up. I'm doing my best not to bug her. And when she says that, I'll tell you something incredibly personal, and I hope it doesn't embarrass her. The day after she had a hysterectomy and I brought her home, she's laying in bed and she looks at me and she touches me in a very personal way and says, I just want you to know it's not over between us. And it's like, all right. I wasn't there going to bring that subject up, And here she is, recovering from a hysterectomy. She wants me to know, we're still going to be sexual. She let me feel pursued. I want her to feel pursued. I don't ever want her to feel like a foregone conclusion. It's Thursday night, it's our sex night. We're not doing that. There's a beautiful dance. I don't know which of you has the greater desire for sex. It changes usually throughout a marriage. But I can tell you this, it's not exactly the same. I've never met a couple where they have exactly the same level of sexual desire. Why did God do that? Why did he give us different levels of desire? I think it's so that we learn pursuit and surrender on both levels, both ways. We need to learn, hey, I'm not in the mood, but I'll let you get me in the mood. Or I'm in the mood, can I get you in the mood? And sometimes going, hey, I wanted to prepare you a great banquet tonight, but if all you want is milk and cookies, that's okay. There's no pressure here. That we're all right. Guys tend to see trends in everything. When you first get married, it's like, you gotta, we had sex a lot when we first got married. And then there comes a point where the woman is, okay, she's ready to sort of nest now. And that frequency decreases a little bit. I remember I panicked. It's like, oh, no, she doesn't like sex anymore. It's like, no, I just don't need it 3 times a day. And I know that's a distant memory now at 64. But the point was, it changes throughout your marriage. And you still maintain that feeling of the dance of, hey, how can we meet each other in a way that is reasonably satisfying to both of us? There's not complete and just unrestrained satisfaction sexually ever, because we don't have the same level of desire, and it changes. You're a moving target. Your level of desire changes. Again, physical stuff happens, all that. But God put us in this marriage to say, okay, figure it out. Use that to show your love for one another, your oneness of flesh, and enjoy each other. And so we both have to work at that. We have to talk about it. It forces us to communicate, because if you just clam up about it and say, well, I can't talk about that, well, you're really not going to solve the problem. So that element of dating keeps the pursuit in mind. Number 3, the element of the impractical. The element of the impractical. Don't give her a skillet for Christmas. Don't buy her an iron for her birthday. When you romance her, or him, you want it to be something impractical. When she gives me a gift that, it's not something I need, but she figures out what I like, and she gives me that. I'm like, oh, that's her reading me. That's telling me she's thinking about me. When we didn't have a lot of money back when we were younger, we had kids, but one time Tanya went through a really uncharacteristic funk. She's the most upbeat, positive person I know. And so when she was like sort of just down in the dumps for a couple of weeks, it was really unusual. And I was saying, is it me? She's like, no, it's not you. Is it the boys? No, it's not the boys. I mean, she could put her finger on what it was, but she just felt down. And I was trying to think, what can I do to just give her joy? And I came up with a plan and an idea. I called her one day. I said, hey, your mom's going to come pick the boys up at 2 this afternoon. And they're going to spend the night with her. And at 3, I want you to be in front of the house with an overnight bag packed. I've already got mine. And I'm going to pull up in front of the house. I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to take you somewhere. She says, where are you taking me? Well, I'm not telling you. Just hand the boys off at 2. You'll be ready at 3. At 3 o'clock, I pulled up in front of the house in a cherry red Mustang convertible with a top down. I very quickly looked at her and said, it's a rental. I did not want her to think I bought one. But yeah, she loves a convertible. And man, Tanya's a gorgeous woman now at 64. In her 30s, I'm telling you, just blonde hair flying, and with her driving a red convertible, it was just something to see. I said, I handed her the key. I said, here are the rules. We're leaving. I don't know where, we're just gonna, wherever we end up at dark, we're gonna spend the night. We'll find a hotel, but you're doing all the driving, top down only, no interstates. And we took off. Wherever, and back then, this is before Waze or Google Maps or anything. I had this Kentucky Atlas, a book that has every road in Kentucky. So I knew where the dead ends were, And we just drove. We ended up that night, we crossed, we went down Tates Creek Road and crossed the Kentucky River on the ferry. We ended up in London, Kentucky that night. I want to tell you something. This was early 1990s. I remember every detail of that night. I mean, just amazing. Just the passion, the joy. The next day, we crossed, I think, the Rockcastle River on a ferry. Kentucky has still several active ferries, and we found several of them. And man, it was just glorious day, gorgeous day, and it just lifted her spirits, and it brought her back. You want to?
Yeah, I just think just unexpected blessings and thoughts that somebody put into there. It does, on some level, the gift itself, although that was magnificent, and it really did. The Lord used it to just go, man, I have a man who absolutely adores me and has invested his heart and mind into dwelling with me according to knowledge. He knows I'm in a funk, and he knows who I am, and he obviously, renting that convertible, knows what I needed. And just how that boosted me. So unexpected gifts of romance are invaluable in a relationship.
Yeah, you remember the story of O. Henry, his story, Gift of the Magi? You ever read that short story? It's written about the late 19th century. This poor couple, he has this beautiful gold watch, and she wants to buy him a watch chain for Christmas, and she has this long, luxurious hair. He wants to buy her these mother of pearl combs for her hair, and but they're poor, they have nothing, and so what she does, she has her hair cut off and sells it to buy him the watch chain. He sells his watch to buy her the combs. And on Christmas Eve, they walk into the room to give each other gifts. There she is, completely bald, and he gives her the combs, and he has no watch, but she gives him the chain. And the irony of the story is that they still had the greatest gift. It wasn't practical. There was no practical purpose now for the combs and the watch chain, and yet the love they both showed and felt was just off the charts. And so that's what you've got to pour into your romance. It's like, I'm not. There's got to be an impractical element to it. I wouldn't do this with anybody else. I'm not doing it in a utilitarian way. I'm doing this for you. I would add to that, very closely related, the element of creativity, where you're putting thought into it. You remember to give your spouse romance on their terms, not yours. It's so often that we want it on our terms. But Tanya already told you, we grew up in very different environments. Her mom and dad didn't even really vacation together that much. But, my mom and dad were very physically affectionate, very open, more so probably than I was comfortable with about their healthy sex life. My mother's 92. She still tells me about it. Mom, I don't need to know that. So we come into the marriage with these two very different aspects, and we had to learn to meet the other. And you've got to be creative to do that.
Yeah, I think you guys have seen this trend. I think we all have creativity in many, many ways. It's just we decide where it is the most important for us to place that. Like, have you noticed this trend of like engagements? Couples getting engaged. It used to be like, well, when we got engaged, this literally happened. We're walking at Fayette Mall, and there was a Leroy's Jewelers out there. And we're walking there, and Herschel looks over to me, and he goes, "You want to go in here?" And I said, "Sure." And we went in, and we looked at the rings, and I said, "Does this mean we're getting married?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "All right." That was my.
That was 13 days after the first day.
Yeah, so that was my proposal. Now, what have you seen people do? for engagement. It's off, prom invitations.
Yeah.
I mean, and they had photographers, and they do all this. We met a couple recently, and he arranged for his girlfriend, now soon to be fiance, that they were going to jump out of an airplane together, and he was going to propose to her while they were flying through the air, and they had to hire a photographer to take pictures of this whole proposal thing. And I thought, darn, that is great. That's crazy over the top.
I mean, seriously, if you put that much effort and energy into your marriage, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
But the problem is they put it into the big production on those things.
And you Instagram it or whatever.
Yeah.
You know? Or kids' birthday parties. Man, you talk about creativity. You know, I saw somebody, the most creative birthday party somebody did. It was called a Costco kids party, and they decorated their house up like Costco, and the kids went around with Costco credit card. These are like 3-year-old kids, and she did it. All this stuff. It was amazing. It was so. But I thought, man, what happens to us is in our marriage, we lose our creativity, and we do this. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? And then you end up looking for 30 minutes at what you're going to watch on television, and then you fall asleep in the first 5. You know, and my encouragement is get creative. Think of something other than just, well, what do you want to do?
Next, the element of daily acts of care, concern, and love. Daily acts it's the daily stuff that keeps the fertile soil of romance ready to produce. This is where a lot of times guys, hey, can we just admit we can separate sex from emotion completely? If Tanya and I were in the middle of our worst argument, like that day on the West Kentucky Parkway, in the middle of that horrible argument, if she had said, look, let's just pull over and let's find a place to stop and let's go have sex in a motel room, I would have gone, okay. But this is never going to happen. Never. In a million years would that happen, because she can't separate the emotions from it. I'm like, okay, we can do that, and then probably we won't be as mad after when we come back to the argument. But no, that's not going to happen. And so, what we have to do is understand. And someone wrote a book a long time ago called "Sex Begins in the Kitchen," and the point was, it's the way you treat each other in those other times that really contributes to a great love life, and it's absolutely true. I typically don't drink coffee. I do drink espresso, but I make coffee for her every morning. And I have learned how to choose the beans that I know she likes. I can go to a store and I can smell beans. I know the level of acidity she likes in her coffee. And I can squeeze that bag and say, oh, this is it. This has got she likes a high level of acidity, those oily beans. Man, I can choose the beans. I grind the beans every morning. I make her coffee, and we have a routine. I get up way before she does usually. I'm upstairs, studying, reading, whatever. When I hear the bedroom door open, she comes to the bottom of the stairs. I go downstairs. We hug, we kiss. There's a little pat on the bottom. I give her one back. And we've decided to make the first 15 minutes of the day just always great. And then when we come together in the afternoon and evening, when I come home, we don't talk about anything heavy. I don't dump on her. There's none of that. Oh, I had the worst day. We don't do that. In the first 15 minutes in the morning, first 15 in the afternoon, whenever you see each other, make them good. Treat each other well and kindly. So I bring her, if she goes back to bed after we have that embrace, I bring her coffee in bed, I go back upstairs, I'm studying or whatever, and I holler down about 15 minutes later, you need a refill? I go downstairs, I get a refill. And just that little thing, every day, it says to her, this guy loves you, wants to serve you. Now look, there's a lot of other stuff I'm terrible at, and I don't serve her like I should. But those first 15 minutes in the morning, man, I'm on it. And it's just one little reminder. And she, man, the thing she does for me on a daily basis is just off the charts. If ever there was a woman who just gets up every day saying, how can I bless other people? It's Tanya. And I'm the chief recipient of that. She's just relentless in thinking about how she can bless me. It just makes life joyful. When you have that kind of an attitude and you've got that kind of a commitment, man, I'm not interested in anybody else. And I'm not bored in marriage. This is the best gig in the world. And by the way, a Spirit-filled Christian ought to be the very best person in the world to be married to. You tell me you have the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control, and you're not fun to live with? You want to know whether or not you're filled with the Spirit? Ask your spouse, am I fun to live with? I mean, it's impossible to be showing the fruit of the Spirit and not be a joy to be around. I mean, people loved being around Jesus, didn't they? Mm-hmm. Little kids, prostitutes, fishermen, everybody wanted to be around Jesus. Why? Because he's perfectly filled with the Spirit. And how are we cranky? You know, if you really want a romantic life, then you've got to be kind, gentle, patient. And those daily acts of kindness build romance. And finally, the element of commitment. I don't want my wife to ever question my commitment to her, to our marriage. That, you know, I loved pastoring. I loved Ashland Avenue. Leaving that church was the hardest decision I ever made. I loved Buck Run. I pastored Buck Run for 20 years. But you know what? They both have another pastor. And, you know, life goes on. I never wanted Tanya to think she came second to a church or to anything else, to Southern Seminary. I'm committed to her. And she needs to know that commitment. And she needs to see it. My eyes aren't wandering. I'm not looking at other women, commenting on other women's bodies. This is my wife. This is the love of my life. And, you know, if anybody's around me 10 minutes, I want them to know I love Jesus and Tanya York. And if you've been around me 10 minutes, you don't know those two things, I've not done my job. Because, man, those are the two loves of my life. And I want her to know that. And I certainly feel that same level of commitment from her. You want to add anything to that? Look, let me just say this. This has been an incredible joy and honor to us to be with you yesterday and today. And we want to invest in things that matter and produce fruit. And I want you to know that being with you, investing in your marriages and your ministries, is about as important a thing as we ever do. God has put you in a place and a position where you get to influence a lot of people. I mean, hearing one coach talk about these broken children. Man, you showing the love of Christ in your marriage is going to be the greatest evangelistic tool you have. And I want to really encourage you. And if I could, Tanya, why don't you lead us in prayer and pray for all these precious couples.
Father, you are so good and you are so generous. And in your goodness and your generosity, you have gifted us with a spouse and an opportunity to have an incredibly fruitful opportunity of using our marriages for kingdom purposes. What a grand design you gave us. And so, Lord, I do pray that as I pursue you with my whole heart, and as Herschel pursues you, and as these husbands and wives pursue you with their whole heart, that you do something amazing by connecting them in such ways and glorifying yourself in their lives and giving them beautiful fruit and beautiful pictures and reflecting your love for your people in such a way that the people that you bring into their life want to know what's up, and that we use these opportunities to share the gospel grace and gospel truth. And Lord, your gospel made such a difference in our life, not just for eternity, but even for this present time. And so, Lord, may you just give these precious couples in these homes of fruitfulness. May you guard them and protect them against the evil one. May you help them have pure spirits. May you help them to know the task and the priorities and the mission that is the grandest of things, and don't trade the best for just good. Lord, may you just make much of yourself in our life. Thank you for our spouses. Thank you for this retreat. Thank you for the men and women who invested in making all this happen and all the behind the scenes that took place. Lord, just use this couple of days to make a difference for gospel kingdom fruit. And it's in your Son, Christ's name, we pray. Amen.
Amen.